This is East Meets West. You know him as the host of the podcast talking politics and religion without killing each other, and the second most important person to hail from Freehold, New Jersey, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Corey Nathan.
And he's the seven-time Emmy-winning broadcast journalist born and raised in beautiful Los Angeles, Rick Garcia. But Rick, you don't have a shirt like I have
Yeah.
that I'm wearing right now
Is-
because Freehold is right near New York. And have I mentioned to you? I don't know if you've heard, but like my New York Knicks, they won the championship this year. Did you know that?
Did they? And I didn't know that till you told me about 1,000 times ago.
I just wanted to make sure that you remember because I got this awesome shirt. My brother bought me a shirt for an early birthday present.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and it's the number 3 for one of my favorite players on the team, Josh Hart, world champion Josh Hart, because
Yeah.
the Knicks they won the championship.
They won the NBA championship. Hey, have you been, you're still paying attention to the World Cup? Are you one of those guys who decided to stop watching after the U.S. was out?
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I there are so many interesting stories
Great
attached,
stories.
yeah, attached to all these different teams. But have you been watching?
Oh yeah, and even if it's just in the peripheral, so I'm not really into the to the minutia of it, but it was really fun to go into the local watering hole and see how many people. I've never seen this kind of interest. I think in the World Cup, I don't remember it being like this in the past.
I'm glad you brought up the local watering hole.
Yeah,
I went to literally the local
yeah.
for lunch one day. It was the oh gosh, it was the second I forget if it was the first or second semifinal.
U.S. game. Yeah.
No. It was
No.
the one
Okay.
earlier this week.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Either
I watched.
Spain and France or England against Argentina. Right.
It was England Argentina. So
Okay.
I watched the first half of the game at the local, literally the local, and I learned
Yeah.
something very important.
What's that?
I don't like people.
I've known that about you.
I really don't like. I didn't want to. Like I
That's
was
not a
about 15
surprise.
minutes into watching the game. I'm like, I
Yeah.
really just want to go home and watch the
Oh,
game. I
that's
want
so
to.
funny. Well, here we are. We're down to two teams after all this. Spain and Argentina. Spain and Argentina. I think some folks were thinking it might be a repeat where you'd have France playing Argentina, but Messi's going to get another crack at a World Cup, probably be his last one. How do you feel about this last game?
I don't know if it's going to be his last one. I mean, the guy's still in pretty good shape, and the way that he plays the game, he really conserves his
Well,
energy. As a
next
lot of
game's
folks have
4 years. Next cup's 4 years from
And
now.
by the
So
way, isn't it
yeah,
all around South America? So it would be really special if he could make his swan song.
roll
I
him
might
out in
be
a
wrong about
wheelchair.
that. Yeah.
Roll him out in
Um,
a wheelchair and
no, but I mean, listen, this guy,
have
like,
him push his walker out to midfield. Come on,
well,
these guys
LeBron,
overstay their welcome sometimes.
they
Okay.
they do, they do, and LeBron is showing us that you could play pretty well into your early
Yeah.
40s. I mean, listen, I think you could probably roll it out there, Rick. I mean, I know that you're in your 90s now, right? Or
Yes. And
approximately.
and people say I shouldn't be doing shows like this anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
okay. So are we going to get into calling
Let's
the
do it.
final here?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a really interesting. I've only watched a couple of the Spain games, but I've been watching Argentina since the
Okay.
get-go.
Sure.
It's a really interesting contrast in styles.
Yes.
Spain is very disciplined. I mean, their defense, like, has there been a goal score, maybe one goal the entire tournament against them? So an incredible defensive juggernaut, and they can control a game. Argentina, they are just assassins. They'll pick their spots. It has been the last couple games. They've been waiting to like the 70th, 75th minute, and then just go on the attack. And you could do that with somebody like Messi. He's like the entire game. He's like a shark circling. Everybody notices. Oh, he's just like slowly walking through most of the game, and then he picks a spot, and he is. But because he has such a precise kick, and he can. I mean, he can juggle the ball. He can manage the ball as if he was in a phone booth, right? So the contrasting styles are really are going to be really compelling to me. I do wonder can Argentina pull off what they've pulled off in a couple games against a team like Spain when they start turning it on and pressing? Are they going to be able to pull that off against a team like Spain? Or has it been the prior couple teams that they've been able to do that against that just isn't as much
Yeah.
of a juggernaut as Spain is?
You might find this hard to believe, but I agree with everything you said.
It's about time, Rick. Get
It's,
on board,
you know,
man. The water's,
I
like, let's
you
go.
I agree with everything you've said. I think Argentina is a little concerned about facing Spain as opposed to France for the reasons you mentioned. Defense, defense, defense. They say defense wins Super Bowls, pitching wins World Series. Um, I think in soccer that is so true that the defense is really the key. Having said that, Argentina has been pulling rabbits out of their hat the whole World Cup, haven't they? So if there is a team that can somehow figure out a way to crack the code on that Spain defense, it's got to be Argentina, right?
I think Argentina has such a good shot because anytime that Messi is on the pitch, they have a shot. It's because it's not just about Messi.
Yeah.
Those goals just the other day, he drew half the defense to him once they were close enough to the goal, and that made his passes just the precision of his kicks aren't just about shooting on goal. The precision of his kicks in this case were the two separate assists that won the game
Yeah.
for them.
Well,
So
he's got great support, right? He's got great players around him, and the focus is always on him. But that's kind of the point, is that you can't just look at him. I mean, they're there for a reason because the whole team is good,
yeah,
not just one player. Because a lot of teams with great players ask Mbappe, ask Thor over there in
yeah, that's right.
in Norway. They're yeah. So look, I think. This will be. I'm going to look at Spain as an underdog in a lot of ways because the favorite, in terms of I think for the fans is Messi. He's one of the world's favorite athletes, and I think that and so I consider Spain an underdog, though they've had a great World Cup. Shouldn't be looked at it that way, but I'm looking at it that way. I think I might root for Spain.
How about that? So no,
I might root for Spain.
I can't help
Plus,
but
I got
root.
some roots. I have some Spanish roots. Just saying.
Okay. I can't help but root for Messi. He's just such an
Okay.
all-time great. And watching him, I remember, late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s watching Jordan and just so appreciating an artist at work, and watching Gretzky, obviously. I love watching all-time greats do their thing. They're virtuosos.
Mhm.
It's just a beautiful. I've never been into soccer this much, and Messi is a large part of why I've been so into
Yes,
this tournament. So
that makes sense.
I'm going to be watching that
Now,
and rooting for Argentina. But they are the
mhm.
underdogs. The Calci and all these different sites, they have Spain as a favorite.
As the favorite. And I think again that's because of their defense. But I would say publicly, they're not the favorite. I think everybody wants to see Messi win one more, and for that reason, that's the only reason I kind of refer to Spain as the underdog. Do you
By
now?
the way, real quick,
Yeah.
just to
Uh-huh.
follow up on something I was asking
Mhm.
about before, the 2030 World Cup, the main hosts will be Morocco, Portugal, and Spain, but they call them the centenary match hosts. They will be in South America, Uruguay, Argentina,
Mhm.
and Paraguay. So that'll be
Okay,
interesting.
that will be interesting. So that you're right. They can scoot Messi down in his wheelchair much closer than they would need to coming out here. So it looks like the world has almost finished converting us into soccer fans. I mean, I've never seen this kind of popularity or interest in the World Cup than we did this season, and again, it was primarily due to the early success that Mexico and the U.S. were having, right? And then, but it seems to have continued a little bit. While this was all going on, the Atlanta Braves, for example, a baseball team, had the bright idea
Yeah.
to offer tickets to World Cup players and fans to go to a baseball game
Yeah.
to check out America's pastime. And they show up and they want to cheer and chant like they do at soccer games. And it's sort of like the World Baseball Classic, where we do play against the world in those games. The Asian fans, for example, they attend games differently than we do. We're probably the most boring of fans in the world, I think. We do the wave once in a while. We got our organ, but you saw a lot of fans showing up at American sporting events while they were in town. Fans that came from other parts of the world to witness the World Cup, and even some players were doing that. Do you think we'll ever convert? Like everybody talks about soccer being the world's most popular sport. Do you think we'll ever get people completely on board when it comes to baseball, basketball, or the NFL?
I don't know if folks will get on board the same way that fans participate in sporting events in other parts of the world. But I think one, we got we got a perspective from fans who descended upon our sports from around the world. They gave us an appreciation of our own sports, and they also gave us a taste of how to experience these games together. I'm going to get really erudite here for a second
Oh,
because I'm
please don't
still
do that.
because I'm still overcompensating for the fact that I never went to college. There's this concept called collective effervescence. A sociologist in the early 20th century, Emil Durkheim, and what that is, the intense shared emotional energy a group feels when coming together for this common purpose. And it's just this very human experience. And things like we talked about it last week, I think the Norway with the row, they were at a Mets game and Mets fans were even, Mr. Met, the bobblehead character, we were enjoying ways to experience this thing together. And there's nothing like it. It's very human. It's very, I don't know, it transcended all of the problems that we got going on in this country and in this world. It seemed to transcend all of that. We remembered how to be together. And I just thought it was great. What their influence on us and a little bit of the taste that we could give on them, I just thought it was great.
I have to tell you, and I agree with that. My example would be I went to a World Cup watch party when the U.S. was playing. It was the game they wound up losing to get eliminated. And I remember thinking exactly what you're saying. Now, just in general, in life, in our country right now, we've never been, more tribal than we are now. We're in our camps. We're so divided. There's a lot of ugliness I don't need to tell you about. Then you get to the great equalizer, which a lot of times is sports. But if you go to a Dodger game or you go to a Rams game, like you go to a Rams 49ers game, you're going to hear a lot of you're going to hear people of both teams cheering when their team does something great. When the U.S. tied their game, the game that they wound up getting eliminated in, they the eruption from the crowd to every single person in the building were all up together, right? There was, like you said, that feeling of camaraderie. We're in this together. We're all rowing together. Was just a beautiful thing. I don't mean to make it philosophical, make it deeper than what it was, but it was just a reminder of, there are lots of things we can't agree on. And that at that moment, we agreed that we wanted the U.S. to win its World Cup soccer game.
So this might not sound like it's on the same topic, but bear with me for a second. I don't know if you watched any of the Wimbledon the final, but there was a moment in the Wimbledon final, and I wonder if it would have happened if all of these feel good moments weren't happening during the World Cup. So one versus two, Sinner versus Zverev. Zverev was number two. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Zverev. He was going for a shot to a ball that was going to his left, and he ends up slipping on the on the surface, and he looked like he hurt himself, so he was down for a second. Sinner, number one seed, he walked to the whole other side of the court where Zverev was still laying down on the grass there, and so it did a few things. One is it gave Zverev a little bit more time to recover, but then two is Sinner helped him up. And it was just this show, like they're going at each other, number one versus number two, going at each other really, really hard. But it was this show of sportsmanship, not just the walk to and from to give Zverev his opponent a chance to recover, but just the act of helping him up. And then they, serve the ball and go at each other's throats. I just
Between the
was,
lines.
It was a talk about a transcendent moment. I really thought that was one of the best moments I've seen in sports this year.
Well, yeah, and as we've kind of changed the complexion of the show, but you're right. This, let's bring back humanity.
Yeah.
Let's bring back civility.
What a concept.
Well, yeah, but in that was a place you could go. to get away from
Yeah.
all of that stuff is sports.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
hopefully we get back to that. It's still fun to scream at a team you don't like and cheer for the team you do like. But it was done, under the guise, under the umbrella of this is a friendly competition. So I agree with you on that. Speaking
Speaking
of,
of
yeah,
teams you don't
speaking,
like,
well, speaking of teams that aren't very competitive, let's do this. It's kind of the unofficial halfway point of the Major League Baseball season. Let's take a look at the standings, shall we? As we look at the Major League Baseball standings as of this recording, the Tampa Bay Rays still lead the American League East. They're up on the Yankees by about 3 games. Now, I always look at this time of year, if you're 10 games out or worse, generally speaking, you're not going to win your division. Okay. That's just been kind of my golden rule. It bears out most of the time. There are exceptions where teams are way back. But when you're that far down, there's usually there are a couple of teams in front of you that you have to leap over and then catch the team in front of you. Now, the wild card has changed that, but I'm just saying to lock a playoff spot, if you're 10 games out or further, you're out of it. So the Red Sox, as far as I'm concerned, are not going to win the division at 10 games out. All right. The Central Division in the American League. Chicago and Cleveland are tied. Minnesota 3 games back. Detroit still clinging at 6.5 games out. So do they unload any star players in particular? I don't know. But
notice what you just said. So Minnesota is only 3 games out.
yes.
They and the Red Sox have very similar records. The Red Sox would only be a half game behind
Yeah.
Minnesota in the same division. So when you introduce the playoffs as it's structured
Yes.
now,
The
that's
wild
where
card.
and
Yes.
especially given the run that the Red Sox just went on, they go
Mhm.
on a run even remotely like that. Now all of a sudden, it's a different, especially because of this year's AL.
And
That,
by the way, which is not very good. You'll agree?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And I'll also say I love the wild card. I love the wild card format. I'm glad to see that the season doesn't end in August. So as it does for some teams when you just had the division winners going. So that's a good thing. I'm just talking about teams who don't anymore appear to be a lock. And the
Right.
American League West is a perfect example for you of how these American League teams. Uh, Texas has a 1.5 game lead on Seattle. Houston 3 games back. The Athletics still in it at 8 games back. But again, to try to lock a spot, you gotta win your division. Now you go to the National League. Atlanta Braves still there. It's one day you're going to wake up and say, I believe," and I think the Braves are for real. The Phillies 2.5 back. Marlins are still in it. Go figure. They're 4 games back, and then the Nationals 8 games back. Again, I'm just talking about winning your division. And wild card, it's wide open. Milwaukee leading the Central. They're a good team to watch. Chicago 5 games back. St. Louis and Pittsburgh not out of it as far as an opportunity to win the division. And then we go to the West. The Dodgers lead their division. That's the one that's turned into a runaway division, which is surprising. As much as I'm a Dodger fan, I thought that the Padres might be there, but they are stinking it up. Arizona's in second place, 11.5 games back. So, did I mention? Did I mention that the New York Mets are
No,
still
no,
in
you
last
didn't.
place?
We don't have to
Still,
talk about
by
it.
the way, Mets are still in last place. Should we look at the wild card standings?
Well, what's
Here's
relevant
this.
there is, when are
What?
we going to start talking about the trade
Did you
deadline?
interrupt me?
Because
So let's see here. Mets, by the way, listen, no, wild card wise, they're 11.5 out of a wild card. Okay. That's optimism.
okay,
Hello.
you know what's optimistic is
Is this
that
thing
I
on?
have I have some really great bottles of whiskey like within
Okay.
arm's reach. That's what I'm optimistic, and it's a Friday,
All right.
so it is 5 o'clock somewhere on a Friday,
So
and
let's be serious. The Dodgers roll into the All-Star break uh, on a 3 game losing streak. Got swept going into the break. The California Post writes an article. The headline says, "Sound the alarms for the
oh,
Dodgers,
for
who
heaven's sake,
sleepwalk into the All-Star break."
it was
I give
it
you the floor.
it was team wide load management. We've been talking about this all year. Team
Yeah,
wide load management. Okay, granted, I think that Dave Roberts would not have scripted it this way. But one is if you're going to go on your first, I don't know if it's the first 3 game losing streak, but it was a first series
I think
sweep
it
that they've
is.
had
Yeah.
all year.
Mhm.
If you're going to do that going into the break because you have an entire week to reset. Yes, there was some sloppy play going in, some errors, some not pitching that didn't reflect how good their pitching is.
Right.
Especially the sloppy play on defense, what was not characteristic of the Dodgers. So I think some of these guys may have checked out for the All-Star break a couple days too early, but they're going to be fine. They are going to be fine. So number one, they still got the best record. They got still the best record in baseball. Two is we're just starting the trade deadline flurry. Okay, so we're gonna see Tariq Skubal as a Dodger. We're gonna see Freddie Peralta as a Dodger. You need an infielder. Word is Francisco Lindor.
Do we want one from your team?
and by the way, Alvarez. He's apparently on the block. An outfielder, you could take Luis Robert, who I don't know if he's even had an at bat this year, and he's going to look like a Hall of Famer playing for you guys. Like you guys are going to be fine. Bottom line is, here's the thing though. Here's the thing. Yeah. You know what's interesting is I don't think the Dodgers, they're going to be so fine that it's going to be hard to beat the Dodgers, especially in 7-game series. So once they get to that part of the playoffs, it's going to be hard to, because I don't see anybody from the American League don't talk to me about the freaking Yankee. Right. I don't care. The Tampa Bay Rays, they can get to the series with them, but they're not going to beat the Dodgers in this. You know who can beat them is if the Phillies get in via wild card and they end up meeting the Dodgers in a shorter series. That's who I would be most concerned about. A short series against a team like the Phillies.
You're getting
way ahead.
I think anybody can beat them, right? You win 2 World Series in a row. It's so hard.
That's your superstition, man. You just don't
want to. Well, that's me. I am. I'm glass half full. You know that. But let me just say this, and you're right about everything you say. They down the stretch, they're running out of gas. If I mention baseball's way too long, if I haven't, I'll mention it again. Baseball's way too long. So you got that. They had some bad defense. They're missing 2 of their starting pitchers, Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell. They're not chopped liver. Oh, by the way, they'll be coming back in the second half.
And there's some reliever. I forgot his name that might be coming back.
Edwin Diaz will be coming.
Who's that? I don't know who that
is. Well, you remember when the Mets were good, right? So, and then Will Smith hasn't played in the last month and a half. Edmund didn't play the first part of the season.
That's why I'm saying, guys.
They have the best record in baseball. Without making any changes, they just have guys coming back.
Yeah,
I don't know that they go for. I don't think they take a big swing at the trade deadline. Maybe a role player, maybe another reliever or starting pitcher. That's your number 5 on your rotation.
But that's what I'm saying is that if they do want to make a move, it'll be with a scalpel. You want some insurance in the outfield, because Teo has been, a little spotty here and there. That's where a guy like Luis Robert would make a heck of a lot of sense. You're worried about the health of Will Smith. The fact that Francisco Alvarez, our future all-star catcher who's, got double digits home runs. He seems to be doing pretty well when he's healthy. That's where the fact that he wasn't on the no trade list that the Mets shared with the rest of the teams, that's significant, I think. That's where an Alvarez or even a Luis Torrens, who has one of the best arms, one of the most precise arms in baseball, that's where the Mets would be an interesting trading partner with the Dodgers. So it'll be interesting to see the next couple of weeks.
So in summary, you'll say 3-game losing streak going into the break. Nothing to see here. Now, I will let you know, though, as the Dodgers start up play again, they've got the Yankees for the next couple of games.
And they got the Mets, too. They're playing the Yankees and the Mets on the East Coast. Yes.
The Mets are going
to be a spoiler, man. I'm telling you. So we're joking about it.
They can call up the guys from AA for that game.
They're going to be a spoiler. I'm really excited about some of the young talent they got. But, okay, that's for another show.
Do you care at all where LeBron's going to wind up?
I'm interested because, again, he is an all-time great. I've never liked the comparisons with him and Michael. I've always said that the comparison to him and Magic is a better comparison. One way or the other, regardless of who you compare him to, he's an all-time great. And I love watching him play. He's still a maybe not top 10, but definitely a top 15, top 20 player. And this is the twilight of his career. I'm going to enjoy watching him play. So I'm also going to be curious what he ends up choosing. Is he going to end up choosing the interesting storybook and going to, storybook ending and ceremonial send off in Cleveland? Does he want to win and go to a team like Miami where he can really complete that team, or Philly where he can really round out a threatening roster? I am, or will he go, you know, to the
Well,
world champion New York Knicks?
so points well taken. I guess why don't we know? Is my question. Why? What's the holdup? Why does he love? Why does he love basking in the drama? I mean, why isn't he? Why hasn't he chosen a team? It leaves.
Because we're
Look,
talking
it
about it.
makes it so hard for the teams to construct rosters, not knowing whether or when he's going to come. Do you
Yeah,
know what I'm saying? It just really screws up rosters when he does this.
it makes for good TV. I think he
Yeah, but
understands that it builds the drama. He'll,
But that's
but
so LeBron. That's my point.
yeah,
That is so LeBron James.
it's a
It's
little
all about
annoying.
him.
Yeah,
Like pick a team,
yeah,
right?
it is a little
If
annoying.
you really cared about the team, you'd be like, oh, they're trying to figure out how they're going to build around me or add me to it. Now
I
pick somebody.
I have a feeling though that he's already zeroed in. If he hasn't picked the actual team, there's one or two teams that he zeroed in on, and there's a lot of negotiation behind the scenes. Because let's say he's not going to just take the veteran minimum, but it's something close to that. He's not going to get a $50 million
No,
2 year
I
contract.
think he'll get 25, 30 though. I mean,
Yeah,
remember, these teams are not the Lakers. These are teams who feel like he's the final piece of the puzzle.
but
So
that essentially
they'll put up the bounty that the Lakers just couldn't afford to do.
But that essentially means, let's say it's 25 million. That essentially means he's leaving 25, 30 million on the table. But what does he do? What
Could
is he going to
be.
do? I think if he goes, here's an idea. Here's a theory. If he goes to Cleveland, he's going to negotiate something post playing career where he's part owner in the team. That's not inconceivable, especially when you're talking about leaving tens of millions of dollars on the table, and especially in a town like Cleveland.
Right. He's
Become
already
a
played there
part.
twice. Already played there twice. I know he's
Yeah,
from there.
yeah,
I mean, Miami, you mentioned Miami's another team in the mix.
yeah,
He's already been there, done that.
yeah,
One championship with each of them. The one that's putting on the full court press though is Philadelphia,
yeah. Philly.
which is interesting. I thought he would have to play with Steph Curry. The feeling there might be that
Yeah.
they're like the fifth choice because they need some other pieces. And that's my point. If
Mm,
he would have agreed early on and said, all right, tell you what,
they can build around it.
I will come to you, start putting some players on the team to play around Steph and me and Butler, and we're ready to go. Right? I mean, but he doesn't do that. He doesn't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. No, it's hard to build, especially for a team like Golden State. That's where I thought when this all started out, I thought that was the number one team. And now as things are shaking out and a couple of these teams made those trades, Philly did that trade with Boston and they got, a world champion player. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I could see Miami because, Pat Riley, he is a deal maker. Talk about an ownership deal. I could see him being creative enough to figure that out. And he knows that system. That's another one that I'm looking out for. Miami, I think, is a wild card in this one.
Okay, that's a possibility. Here's the thing. Another thing that really smacks of LeBron James, his agent Rich Paul. His agent. Some people think the agent in this case, Rich Paul, is as big as the rest of the celebrity basketball players in the league because he takes up a lot of airspace. He takes up a lot of oxygen. He's got teams. The way they're having to pitch LeBron is indirectly through voice note. So executives are having to do their pitch on something called voice note, and they're sending it over to Rich Paul. Then Rich Paul's going through them and giving them to LeBron James. Is there a reason he can't? And even the way teams do it now, they'll fly out to you, set up a lunch and a dinner at a nice restaurant, shake somebody's hands, look them in the eyes. Or is anything wrong with pitching in person like that? Like what? What's the? I don't get it.
Uh,
Like again,
through
this is
through
like
through like
ridiculous.
a voicemail. So speaking of Pat Riley, could you imagine Pat Riley like? So I'm gonna leave a voicemail for LeBron to.
It,
And so what is he
it's
like? Is he
I
gonna put
think
together like a barbershop quartet and like
it's called voice
LeBron?
note. I think there's probably video with it as well, right? Like kind of like what we're doing. Well, you think of it as audio, but there's probably video to it. But like, do we have the GM's kid make a PowerPoint, send it over? Like, what? Come on.
So
What
one of the
he's played in every one of those cities for the last 20 plus years. He's familiar with the cities, right?
yeah.
He knows the players on the team. What I don't get this.
So
It
one of the
just makes me
best
nuts.
recruiting efforts I was ever a part of, I was helping out a company uh, called Studio City, of all things. And the owner is this really dynamic, sometimes mercurial guy. And he really wanted this guy named Gabe, Gabe. And Gabe just, he
Why
was
did you
thinking,
spell Gabe's name? Just
You'll
out of
hear in a
curiosity.
second. You'll hear in a
Okay. All
second.
right. I apologize.
Gabe, and
Yeah.
Gabe was thinking about it, thinking about it,
Yeah.
and Stu, the owner of the company, couldn't get through to him. So he said, "Corey, I'm going to leave you a message. You have to pass it and make sure that Gabe hears it." And Stu wrote a song to that song, "Love L is for the way you look at me," and this whole song to Gabe, G is for the way you go for like whatever it
Seriously.
was. And Gabe
Oh,
ended up going to Studio City, stayed there for like 10 years.
that's a great recruiting tip. That is good. That's very creative. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Well, anyway, here we go. Lots of drama. Don't know where he's going to go. He does know where he wants to go, and it's not all about the money. He already knows which teams are close to getting there.
Yeah,
Though he's not the general manager that he thinks he is, right? But he has an idea in his head of what he thinks is going to be a
sure.
winning team. Just pick. Like the Warriors are over there hanging, man. They're like, we don't know. We're not sure what we're doing. And there are other players out there. There are other free agents. They're saying that's one of the holdups on the Lakers possibly signing Kuminga, the former Warrior and Atlanta Hawk, is that he's waiting to see what LeBron does.
So let me
You know,
turn the
so
tables on you.
yeah,
So you've negotiated contracts before.
I have.
Were you ever in a position where you had multiple suitors and you're deciding between multiple suitors?
Oh, one experience where the family and I took a vacation. We were on a Disney cruise, and I was working at the Fox at the
You're
time
not going to tell
in
me
Los Angeles.
this is how you decided to marry Lori, is it?
We were already married, and there we are having a great vacation on a cruise. And so this was, gosh, 10, 15 years ago, I think. And my contract is up at actually I was at CBS. My contract was up at CBS. NBC had called, and they were interested. And they made an offer, and there was a lot of back and forth. But the problem was I had these deadlines because they'll also give you each side wants to give you a deadline,
Yeah.
and I'd gotten past the deadline where I had the right to now start negotiating, but I had to give my current company the right of first refusal. The problem is I was trying to do this the entire time I was on my cruise.
Oh,
And and in those days, it's a lot better now.
yeah.
And even then, it's hard now to make phone calls.
Right, right.
So I'd be talking to my agent, and he would say this number, and he'd get halfway through the number, and we cut out, and
Oh man.
we couldn't get a hold of each other like the rest of the day. It was stressful, really, really stressful. And I remember staying at CBS at that time, even though NBC made a generous offer. I left money on the table
Mm,
because the one simple little term that I wanted specific duties put in my contract so that I knew I'm anchoring this show so that when I got there a week later, they couldn't move me to that show. Couldn't get them to agree on the specifics, which was becoming a kind of a company-wide policy
yeah.
that we can do what we want at any time. And I was like, yeah, I'll just stay where I'm at because I know what shows I'm doing, and I'll leave some money on the table for that.
So now I'm imagining Les Moonves,
Yeah.
you know, talking about you the way you're talking about LeBron right now. Les Moonves is complaining, "Oh, this Rick Garcia. Oh, he just has
You
his
know,
feet up in the pool and on the cruise, and he's making me wait, and I can't even sell my company because I'm waiting for
we
Rick freaking Garcia."
we yeah, we had a boss too that I remember would take note of the cars that people were driving, and not less, by the way. And that was his way of saying, you know what, we're paying Corey way too much. And he was serious. He would look at it and he'd realize, man, I think people are making too much money over here. I know. I don't know. Are you resistant to change? Are you the kind of person that are you a traditionalist when it comes to your sports? Are you a creature of habit?
It depends on the change. I'm not
Okay.
one way or the other. It really depends on the change. But I think I
Yeah.
know what we're going to talk about right now. This,
You
I am
should because I
dubious.
sent you
Let
a
me just
rundown.
say, I am dubious. I
Yeah.
am dubious.
So here's the thing. I've considered myself a baseball traditionalist when they started talking about rules like, okay, let's just have a DH in the entire league, I was reluctant. Now I love it. When they were adding all the things to speed up play in baseball, fantastic. fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, I
Pitch
love it.
clock,
Yeah.
great. Checking the replay on balls and strikes, fantastic. And it's even created a strategy within a strategy as to when to do that. Love it. NBA is starting to talk about this now, and they're thinking of a way. Now, NBA games are definitely shorter already than the NFL and Major League Baseball. They want to make them tighter even. So they're talking about changing the free throw rule to cutting it down to one free throw regardless. Now, it's the least interesting play in all of sports, right? Guy standing at the line, he bounces the ball, kind of looks at it, puts it up, waits for the ball to come back, touches the bottom of his tennis shoes with his hands, and then, grabs the ball, starts it. So what they're going to do is they're experimenting with the idea of maybe having a free throw just be one free throw regardless. So if it's a 1+1, you get one free throw, you get 1 point. If it's in the act of shooting, which is normally a two-shot foul, if you make the free throw, you get your 2 points. If you get fouled beyond the 3-point arc, instead of taking 3 free throws, you get one shot. And if you make the one shot, you get the 3 points. If you miss it, you don't get any points. We'll stop with that one first. Any thoughts on that?
I am dubious.
Why?
Because if you get the two shots, there's something to be said about a guy who masters his craft, or in the WNBA too, not just guys. There's something to be said about really mastering that craft and putting players on the line that are 80, 90% free throw shooters. That there's a value to that in the game versus guys like the guy that we just lost, that Knicks just lost, Mitch Robinson. If he shot, 25, 30%, so teams would develop an entire strategy around the Hack-a-Shack back in the day, or Hack-a-Mitch these last couple of seasons. So I think it's a part of the game that, yes, it slows it down. I guess what I'd want to see is how much time. Well, you know what? No. How much time are you saving? What is it going to be? You're going to save an average of about 7 minutes a game, if that.
Could be.
More,
Yeah.
probably more like 3.5 minutes a game. And by the way, there's a part, like, it doesn't have to be all action all the time. There are moments when you're able to sit with your buddy and you're enjoying a beer and talk about the game, as opposed to it being constant action, constantly coming at you. So no, I don't like it. I haven't thought about it. I didn't think about it until just now, but like,
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. The 3.5 minutes. No, I paid a
Sure.
lot of money for these seats. I want to enjoy it. I paid a lot of money for my subscription on TV. I want to enjoy as much of it as I can. So no,
And you
I don't
want to
like
see
it at
those
all.
two extra free throws, is that right?
I do. Yeah, because it changes the nature
Okay.
of the game. It changes the
Yeah.
strategy.
One of the other things you're thinking about doing is embedding the ball with some technology, like they're doing in soccer.
Yeah.
The reason they can spot offsides a little easier is because the soccer ball was embedded with a sensor that allowed to kind of, when the ball was touched
Yeah.
by the player, they could kind of see where he was in position. Was he beyond the last defender or not? In the case of basketball, one of the toughest plays for them to figure out when they go to replay is who last touched the ball when it went out of bounds.
Yeah.
And if there's a sensor and they know, okay, when they see the ball, they're watching the ball, the referee's on the replay, they're watching the ball, beep, 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 whatever the last beep is, that's the player who touched it. So what do you think about that?
That one I like.
Yeah.
Like you, I am a baseball purist, but I love
See?
this ABS system where you're not dependent on the whims of an umpire or referee in this instance. Because listen, I am a Mets fan. I don't know if you remember, but
I did not know that.
yeah. And
Still?
went for the last basically 30 years, especially going back to the 90s. The Braves pitchers would get 3 inches, 6 inches, 4, 5, 6 inches on each side of the plate. One of the reasons that Smoltz and Maddox and Glavine are in the Hall of Fame is because by the end of the game, these guys were getting a fat strike zone. So
Yeah.
I'd rather it be precise. We could take some of this out of, some of this imprecision out of the game, especially when it comes to that, because I want as much of it to be dependent on the coaches and the players and not on these arbitrary calls that a lot of times the refs are going to get wrong. So take that part out of the game.
Okay. Sounds good. I look, You don't have to do it to necessarily speed up the game. You're right. Basketball is already a quick enough game. I don't have a problem. Free throws just put me to sleep anyway. But you're right. It would change whether these guys, could you imagine them just stop practicing free throws, right?
Oh, for Kevin's sake.
Okay, you ready to pop that culture?
Let's pop that culture.
Pop that culture.
Pop that culture.
All right. Are you a fan of spiders, my friend?
Not at all.
Yeah. Well, I don't like them either, but whose job is it in your house to catch the spider?
Lisa's, absolutely, 100%.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. I don't like spiders
but here's
either.
The thing.
Everybody calls me up to get the spider.
No, if it was up to me, it would be my shoe. I take my shoe off and call it a day. But I got these lovers of nature and all kinds of creatures. So what Lisa does is she has the spider cup, and she gets the cup and she puts it on, and it could be like black widows. We get like poisonous spiders here.
Sure.
Puts the cup over the thing, and I don't know. She has this whole ritual that she does with it, and she gives the spider a whole new life someplace else. I don't know where she does with it, so that's why.
Probably just drops her right in the toilet like everybody else. So a study took place, and you'll see very quickly how I'm going to tie this into sports.
Okay.
Scientists tested 258 species of spider, and one of them came out on top as the world's fastest spider, right? Now, if you don't like spiders, here's another reason to hate them even more. There literally is a spider that can outrun you. Mr. Nathan, right? For a long time, the Moroccan flick-flack spider, was considered the world's fastest arachnid. But many scientists didn't agree with that assessment, so they decided, because it has an unusual form of locomotion, let's go out and test them. And what they discovered is the huntsman spider, which is a species native to Queensland, Australia.
Which is why I'm never going to Australia. All the worst snakes, they're all in freaking Australia.
They're all in Australia, and they're all huge usually. This particular spider was declared the world's fastest spider. Now, you read the story, didn't you? So you probably already know the answer to this. I should have probably told you not to read it. But for our audience, the spider, humans, just for the record, humans average a speed of about 4 to 6 miles per hour, right? 4 to 6 miles per hour for a human. The huntsman spider can go 8 miles an hour.
Now, what it did say in that story,
Corey. You're dead.
No. What it didn't say in that story is how long can they sustain 8+ miles an hour?
Well, who cares? It's going to get you. It's going to catch you if it's close enough already.
Well, you know what they say, Rick. If you and I were running from what is it called? What kind of spider is it? If you and
the huntsman,
or a flick flack or whatever. I don't need to be faster than the huntsman or the flick flack. I just need to be faster than you.
And for the record, huntsman spiders are venomous.
Yeah.
But not poisonous.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. So I don't need to be faster than the spider. I just need to be faster than you.
The venom is not, apparently, it is not medically significant to humans. Okay. I don't want to get bit anyway.
I don't want to test that theory, though. Like, do you?
I know what you're saying. Listen, my friend, that's it. We're out of time. I wanted to give you a head start because there's a huntsman that's been crawling around in your office since the beginning of this recording. So I'll just say I'm Rick Garcia. He's Corey Nathan. It's East Meets West. Thanks for joining us.
And don't forget to let everyone know you can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your favorite podcasts. I gotta go.
All right. See you.